What's up, butch-femme discussion? This is Ashton. I hope you guys can see me. The lighting in my apartment is not that great, and normally I try to do videos during the daytime so I can open up some windows, so apologize if it's a little shadowy and dim in here. Anyways, topic for this week is sexuality. And I don't think I ever said this, but I'm Thursday's butch, by the way. So I guess I'm not entirely sure where to start on this topic. There's a lot of stuff that I think I'll be covering next week also in our kind of extended video series on sex, so I might not expand on a whole lot of stuff right now that I'm gonna talk about next week. But basically, I don't know, sexuality I think is a complicated thing, especially for, I think it can be more complicated for butch femme people trying to decipher how you're butch or femme or, you know, genderqueer or whatever other gender non-normative identity, how to translate that into your sexuality and your sexual swagger, or, you know, just the way you come off to other people, however you want to, you know, whatever you want to call that. Let's see. I definitely do consider myself feminist and thus sex positive. And that means I think sex is awesome, sex is bueno. I don't think that women who enjoy sex are sluts, and I find it very extremely offensive to call any woman a slut for any reason. And I try to keep that word out of my vocabulary as much as is humanly possible. And I'm not comfortable with sleeping with people who, you know, use that kind of vocabulary towards women. As I may have mentioned before, I'm single, have been single for the past 2 years. It's been a while since I've had a serious relationship. So I haven't really had the romantic variety of sex recently, I guess. We'll put it that way. Most of it, my experiences recently in the last couple of years have been with friends with benefits. And I am pretty much, I don't know, I don't know how to phrase this, but a supporter of casual sex, I guess, in favor of it, but with certain conditions, and allow me to define casual sex how I see it before, you know, anyone makes any snap judgments. Definitely, obviously, between two consenting adults. Hopefully that goes without saying, but just in case it doesn't, for me it also goes with two consenting single adults. I do not mess with people who are already in relationships. I respect the boundaries of other people's relationships, and I think it's petty bullshit to do otherwise, but that's just my experience, and I've had a lot of known a cheater too, so that's, you know, I guess you could call that a personal bias against cheaters and cheating. Like I said, sex positive. I don't consider any woman I sleep with to be, like, pardon the language, guys, fuck, you know, like, I would never disrespect a girl just because she slept with me, because that seems really ridiculous and contradictory. You know, any person that I'm gonna have sex with, I'm gonna respect on some level, and most people I have sex with are people I consider really good friends and care quite a bit for, just not romantically. In fact, I have one sort of, I guess you could say, ongoing sexual partner, friend with benefits, that I've known for almost a year now, who is great and really works with me to figure out, you know, butch sexuality and things like that that I've kind of been exploring for the first time, you know, in the last year or two, since I've really figured myself out, because there are a lot of things that I'm not into that I guess, quote-unquote, most women might be. And I will explain that in much more detail in our next video, and it's a lot more about what's, you know, what we're into and what we're not, etc., etc. I think sometimes it is hard for me to, with respect to the whole sexual swagger idea, sometimes it's hard for me to reconcile my feminism with my masculinity and my I guess, desire to be aggressive, in the sense that I think I've known so many women who have dealt with sexual assault by men that sometimes I'm a little hesitant to be aggressive for fear of being too aggressive or making, you know, reproducing that feeling that they felt when they were made to feel sexually vulnerable by, you know, a straight guy. So that's something I'm still kind of working on with myself, and still kind of piecing together and figuring out how I feel about that and how to deal with feelings towards that, and how to be, you know, recognize that it's totally okay to be aggressive as long as that's what someone else is interested in. You know, it's just a weird, you know, because then you have to figure out, how do you figure out if they're interested in that? You know, do you just guess? Do you just assume and do it anyways? But you know, I'm definitely the kind of person where if any girl ever told me my advances were unwelcome, then I would stop immediately, because that's, you know, anything else I think would be really disrespectful and, you know, not okay on a lot of different levels. So yeah, that's kind of my sexuality. I'm definitely in favor of quote-unquote sexploration, trying different things, being open to different things. I think it's very important, you know, when I do get into my next serious relationship, it definitely has to be with someone who's willing to talk openly about sexuality. And that's something I find, I don't know if it's true of all lesbians, or if it's an old school thing, or if it's just with people around here at my age, but I've noticed that a lot of lesbians in serious relationships, and a lot of my past serious relationships, we just really didn't talk about sex. It was just something that either happened or it didn't, and there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about, hey, does this work for you? Or, hey, you know, we're not having sex enough, or hey, we're having sex too much, or hey, this, hey, that, you know, hey, let's try something new, hey, let's figure out, you know, toys we're both into. I think that's really important. I think it's so, so important to be able to discuss things like that with your partner. You know, especially when you're in a monogamous serious relationship. You know, it's so worth it to figure out what's comfortable for you two. I think sometimes there's this idea that this sort of like romanticized relationship where you just automatically know exactly what's perfect for, you know, the other person. And I think a lot of times in reality that's just not how life works, you know? It's where communication comes in. That's why it's so damn important in relationships, you know, on a romantic level, on a, you know, emotional level, on a sexual level. It's important in everything. And so I guess I'll say I'm very pro-communication about sex also. And I guess that goes in hand with being sex positive anyways, but I figured it was worth expanding on. But I am actually thinking of probably linking to a site called Sugar Butch, which I find very interesting, written by a butch who's into sort of dominant, submissive culture, BDSM and stuff like that. But I've found a lot of her writings about butch identity to be fascinating and really important to me, and really a lot of things that I've always thought but hadn't really been able to vocalize. So I'm going to post up some of those links in hopes that, you know, maybe someone else will find something that works for them, or learn something about themselves they didn't know before. But I guess that's going to be it for this video, and I'll see you guys next week when we really get into the tough topics. Tough, or I guess not really tough, just little things I'm not used to talking about in videos that I'm going to post that everyone who has the internet can see, pretty much. But alright guys, I think that's it, so I'll see you guys next week. Peace, guys.